Hello, welcome to Yellowstone and thanks for joining us today. I'm Ranger Matt and I'm in the northern part of Yellowstone in the Mammoth Hot Springs campground. It's a cool day today. Temperatures are around 45 degrees Fahrenheit or 7 degrees Celsius. Despite those cool temperatures, spring continues to march on. The grass is still greening up, the birds you may hear singing are still building nests or taking care of their young, and the bison are keeping a watchful eye on those newborn calves. As you can see behind me, the habitat contains coniferous trees and sagebrush, and you may catch glimpses of snow-covered mountains in the back. Now bear in mind, during our program today, if you have any questions or comments about the topic, please put them in the comments on the side of your screen, and we would appreciate it if you shared this video with anyone who you think might be interested. Now speaking of spring, there's something I look forward to every year, and that is when bears wake up from hibernation and emerge from their dens. Some of them being mothers who have given birth to their cubs over the winter, which I just find incredible. Fortunately, we're joined by Ranger Nicole today, and she has lots of other incredible information about the bears of Yellowstone. Ranger Nicole?
Thank you, Ranger Matt. Hello, my name is Ranger Nicole, and thank you so much for taking time out of your day to learn more about the bears of Yellowstone. Now, when I say bear, what is the first thing that comes to mind?
Furry!
And that's going to be different for everybody. For me, it's a memory of when my parents came to visit me at Yellowstone National Park last spring. It was their first time in the park, and it happened to be their last day when we were driving along by Obsidian Cliff. And we saw a mother grizzly bear and her cubs. And this is a photo that my mom took on that day. You can see the cub just peeking around the corner. And I still remember just how overjoyed and ridiculously excited we all were. It was all of our first time seeing a grizzly bear, and we felt so grateful to be able to share that experience with each other. Now, if you've ever seen a bear in the wild, I'm sure you also remember just how you felt and exactly where you were. Maybe you were hungry, tired, excited, scared, maybe a combination of all of those things. Well, today we are going to be talking about those bears that are ingrained in the history and majesty of Yellowstone National Park, and also how we can all take a proactive role in protecting ourselves, other visitors, and our bears for future generations. Now, first things first, what is a bear? Well, a bear is a mammal, so that means that it has fur, like this grizzly pelt here. And this fur is quite coarse and long, nice chestnut brown color. Mammals also give live birth, produce milk for their young, and they are warm-blooded. Our bears are omnivores, so that means that they can eat both meat and vegetation. And humans are omnivores as well, so we have a similar teeth structure as our bears. So if I was to eat some beef jerky, I would use my canines or my sharp teeth here in order to rip that meat. And you can feel your canines by using your tongue, feeling that they're a little sharper than your other teeth. And here I have an adult male grizzly bear skull, and they also have these sharp canines that they use when they are eating meat. Now, if I was to eat some vegetables, I would put it back in my mouth and use my molars in order to grind up that vegetation. And you can feel your molars as well. Kind of flat, have some divots. And our grizzly bears are going to feel similar. Right here. Now, bears also have an elongated digestive tract, and that helps them to further digest all of those plants and get as much nutrition out of those plants as they possibly can. If we were to move up the skull of our bear, we would see this pretty big nose. And bears are thought to be one of the animals in the animal kingdom that have the best sense of smell. And why do you think that is? Well, it's a two-part answer. The first is going to be looking inside the brain of our bear and looking at the olfactory bulb. That's the part that processes smell. It is about 5 times larger than a human's. You can also look inside their nasal cavity at this honeycomb structure where you can see millions of scent receptors. This allows bears to have 7 times greater sense of smell than a bloodhound's, or 21 times greater than a human's. They use this sense of smell in order to hunt and communicate with each other. Some of their favorite menu items here at Yellowstone National Park are going to be these ones here. We have dandelions, trout, winter kill animals like elk or bison, which is this picture here, and white bark pine nuts. Bears also run pretty quickly. They can run up to 35 miles per hour, live to about 15 to 30 years old in the wild, and are normally pretty solitary, except for when you see a mother with her cubs. Now here at Yellowstone National Park, we have 2 species of bear. We have our black bear, and this species is going to be more commonly seen throughout the country. I have a map here of their historic and current range. So in pink, you can see where black bears used to be found all throughout the United States, up into Canada and in Alaska too. And their current range is going to be in that red color. Now, based on this map, do you think you have black bears where you live, if you happen to live in this map covered area? This blue arrow is also pointed towards Yellowstone. Our other species of bear is going to be our grizzly bear. And grizzly bears are definitely going to be more rare to spot in the United States. They used to be found throughout the West in this green color in their historic range. But today they are only found in the orange spaces here. There's a few spots in the lower 48 and up in Canada and Alaska. And again, that blue arrow is here at Yellowstone. Both bear species can be found throughout the park, whether you're on the boardwalk over at Old Faithful or in the deepest part of the backcountry. In 2018, there was a study done. And in orange, you can see the grizzly bears where they were mostly found. And in the black, you can see where the black bears were. These habitats are determined by the annual and seasonal availability of food. Now, because of that broad range, Yellowstone National Park is a great place to wildlife watch. Oh wait, I think I see a bear now. Oh, luckily I have my binoculars with me. Oh man, well, I don't think it's moving, but it does look quite large. It's just a big rock. Well, if you're ever lucky enough to see a bear from a safe distance here at Yellowstone National Park, I'm going to show you 4 ways where we can tell our black bears or our B bears apart from our grizzlies or our G bears. First things first is going to be that body shape. So our grizzly bears are going to be a bit taller, standing about 3 to 5 feet at their shoulder. They also have this shoulder hump here. And that's a really large mass of muscle that helps them put a lot of pressure on the ground and be really great at digging. For our black bears, they're a bit smaller. They stand about 2 to 3 feet at the shoulder. They do not have that hump, but they do have a pretty big rump. So their backside here is going to be taller than their shoulder. Moving to that face shape, our grizzly bears are going to have a dish-shaped profile. So that means from their eyes to their snout, it's going to curve in just a tad. And they have this ruff of fur underneath their neck, kind of like a neck beard. Their ears are going to be smaller and closer to their head. So they are a bit more round and small. Where our black bears have really tall, prominent ears, and their face shape is going to be more of a straight profile from that eye down to their snout. So again, those ears are going to be just a bit taller. Moving down to those claws. So our grizzly bears, because of that hump, again, are amazing diggers. So their claws need to represent that. They're a little longer, less curved, about 2 to 4 inches long. And the length of these claws are actually going to be determined by how much that bear digs. And I have a grizzly bear claw here just to see the size in relation to my pinky. So this claw is quite smooth, dark brown, and you can see that it is pretty large. comparison to my pinky, especially comparison to my claw right down here. And we have our black bear claw, which is going to be more curved. That helps our black bears be really great at climbing trees. It's a bit shorter, a little under 2 inches long. And moving from our claws to our paws, I have a black bear paw here. You can see those claws sticking out amongst the fur here. Their toes are going to be a little further apart and more of this arch shape. If you were to draw an imaginary line from this front toe all the way to the pinky, it would cut across, as we can see right there. And if you were to see the track of a black bear in the park, you might not be able to see those claw prints. But if you were to see the track of a grizzly bear, which is going to be a lot larger of a pad, you will probably see those claw marks. And their toes are going to be closer together. And they don't really have that arch shape, so if you were to draw that line, it would not cut through that pinky. And I have just a skeletal structure of that grizzly bear, which you can see is a lot bigger than my paw here. Now, we just learned a whole bunch about bear identification, so I feel like you are an expert now. So we are going to play my favorite game, Guess That Bear. So how this game works is I'm going to hold up a picture of one of the bears here at Yellowstone National Park, and you are going to vote whether you think it's a B bear or a G bear. And you can do that if you're feeling extra super excited with your hands, so you can vote with small grizzly bear hands or big black bear ears. All right, are you ready? The suspense is growing. All right, first bear. If you guessed black bear, you are correct. You can see those tall, prominent ears, that straight face profile, and they use those curved claws in order to get up this tree here. All right, next, drum roll, please. We have this bear. And this is gonna be our grizzly. So if you had those tiny grizzly bear ears up, you would be correct. You can see that muscle mass hump on their back, and extra points. Do you know what this bear is eating? An extra look. This is going to be one of our winter kill animals, and this one's a bison. And so that means that an animal died in the wintertime, was covered up by snow, kind of like if you were to put meat in the freezer. And over time, it defrosted, and it becomes a really easy meal for our bears in the springtime. All right, next bear. Another grizzly, and you can see that it's utilizing those big long claws in order to dig. And last, but maybe the trickiest, is this bear here. Use all of those skills of identification to help you along. Well, if you noticed, color was not one of those big distinctive things between our black and our grizzly bears. So this is going to be a black bear, even though it's more of that cinnamon color. And you can tell it's a black bear by that larger rump in the back and those big prominent ears. So black and grizzly bears can range from a black color all the way to that cinnamon color there. Another way that you can tell these bears apart is going to be how they react to conflict. So our black bears are actually going to be less aggressive, and they tend to flee from a threat. So you can see them running away with their cubs or even running up a tree. Where our grizzly bears are going to use that big size and more aggressive attitude to scare away a threat to themselves, their young, or even their food source. Because of this, we have documented more grizzly bear human-inflicted injuries here at the park. And these injuries started to be documented at the very beginning of the park's opening. And that is because Yellowstone was a place where people could see and interact with bears. Hundreds of people would gather to feed bears by hand or to watch them feed on garbage. Now, over time, the park realized that this was not our best practice. And that is because human food is not great for a bear's digestive system or for their natural diet. And if you allow bears to associate humans with food, they can become more aggressive towards humans and put themselves in danger by being closer to roadways and cars. So in the 1960s, the park implemented a bear management program, and this was focused on educating the public and prohibiting all feeding of bears. Since then, and all those safety precautions, the overwhelming amount of bear encounters today do not involve conflict, and human injuries and property damage have gone down. Human injuries have gone down from 48 per year in 1931 to only 1 per year into the 2000s. And these recent conflicts, well, most of them were caused because the bear was surprised, so they were unintentional. So I'm going to share with you how to high five to bear safety by sharing 5 ways that we can be proactive and to stay safe in bear country. The first one is going to be the rule of thumb. So all of our animals here at Yellowstone National Park are wild and unpredictable, so you never want to crowd them or be too close. If you see an animal that eats meat, or a carnivore or an omnivore, you want to be at least 100 yards away. Now, 100 yards can be kind of hard to imagine, so I'm going to share with you a couple different ways to think about that. The first one, for all of our football fans out there, is going to be to imagine a football field without the 2 end zones. That is about 100 yards. So you and your hiking group should be about that distance away from a bear. Say you're not familiar with a football field. You can imagine about 8 school buses distance between you and that bear. But let's say you don't have access to 8 school buses when you're here in Yellowstone. Probably common. I'm going to show you a quick way by using your thumb. So if you're out in the park, oh my goodness, and if you see a bear when you're out on the trail, to tell that it is a safe distance away, you can stick out your thumb and you want to focus on your fingernail. And if you can have the entire shape of that animal within your thumb, then you are a safe distance away. All right, our second way to high five to bear safety is going to be safety in numbers. So when you're enjoying Yellowstone National Park, hanging out with your friends and recreating, you always want to be in groups of 3 or more. And that is because 91% of people injured by a bear in Yellowstone since 1970 were hiking alone or with one other person. By being in a large group, that allows you to be louder as well. So you never want to scare a bear. So if you are hiking in a big group, and you're going through an area of dense vegetation, a lot of bushes, or you're not quite sure what is around the corner, you can use a bear call. Just something that you can say that's nice and loud so the bear can hear you. Something I like to say is, "Hey bear!" or Ranger Matt, what do you like to say?
Yo, bear.
And those can help you not to surprise a bear on trail. Some people also like to use bear bells. Another thing, when you're in a group exploring Yellowstone National Park, you should always let someone else know, not part of your group, exactly where you're going to be and when you should be arriving back home. Now, the next thing you can do when you're out in bear country is going to be bear aware. So you're looking out for signs of bears. So you're looking out for their tracks or even these rub trees here. And these rub trees may look a little mangled, and they may have bits of hair stuck in the bark, but they are used by bears as a way to communicate. You should also avoid places where bears feed, like carcasses, or if you see an area where there's a lot of roots dug up. And also that you should not hike when bears are the most active. So in summer, that's going to be dawn, dusk, or even nighttime. Another way to be aware on trail is by looking out for signage. So this is some examples of signs you may see at Yellowstone. So some really good examples of how you can stay safe. And also, because of that bear management plan, sometimes we close off areas in the park where bears have been most active. So looking out for those trail closure signs. The next thing you can do is going to be to secure your smells. So again, bears have an amazing sense of smell. Some scientists say that bears can smell a food source away from a mile or maybe even 2 miles. So when you are camping in the park, or if you just have some trash you need to throw away, the park has actually designed these bear boxes and all of our trash cans to be relatively bear proof. So because we want to have bears not in our camping areas, you should secure anything with an odor. Hey Matt, do you have anything you want to secure?
Should I secure my sunscreen?
Definitely. So we may not think that sunscreen is tasty, but bears might smell and be like, Ooh, the smells of summer. I want to try it. So we want to make sure that even our cosmetics and things that can protect us from the sun should be stored away. What else?
How about my trash?
Oh! Ranger Matt might have had this for a while. Definitely all of this trash might have food scraps in it or other tasty things for bears. So we want to secure that. What
How
else?
about the clothes I cooked in?
Definitely. So clothes that you cook in could have bits of oil, especially if you're cooking bacon along the fire. So we want to pack in those clothes as well. With that in mind, anything that you cook your food in or even that you're washing your food in, so those buckets should go in a bear box too. And then always make sure that they're secure before you leave your campsite. If you're backpacking in the park, bear hangs can be used as well. And we have a lot of signage for places where you should secure your food. And these signs are in some of our campgrounds here at Yellowstone. So to be bear aware, food storage required, and to store all food in a vehicle. Now, the bed of a truck would not be the best place because bears can get in that too, or your tent or a picnic table. So making sure that it's in a hard-sided car. All right, now the very last thing you can do to be proactive in bear country, to be number 5, help to stay alive. And that is going to be about bear spray. Now, bear spray is an aerosol bear deterrent, and that is going to prevent bears from charging at you, hopefully. What is happening is you are going to spray a cloud, and the different chemicals in that cloud is going to temporarily stop a bear from being able to smell, see, or breathe, and give you enough time to exit from that situation. Now, every can of bear spray or every brand is a little different, so when you do purchase it or rent it, you want to make sure that you read the instructions and how much spray is inside your can. When you are hiking or even just exploring by car in Yellowstone National Park, you want to make sure that every person in your group has a can of bear spray and that it's readily accessible. And in a moment, I'm going to show you how to use it by doing a demonstration. Now, those are all ways that we can be proactive by doing our research before we go into a natural area. So what happens if you actually see a bear in the wild? Well, let's say you're in your car, you should definitely honk your horn and drive away. And that's going to deter that bear from using that behavior again, because they're probably just looking for food. If you are on trail and you're with a group of 3 or more, you have your bear spray ready and you're making lots of noise, but you still see a bear ahead, if you're a far enough distance away, just stop, gather your group, and walk away slowly. You should never run away from a bear encounter. Another situation would be if you are hiking along, you see a bear and it is quite close, and it becomes aggressive or starts to charge. I'm going to show you how to use this bear spray now. So again, you should stay calm, do some breathing, stand your ground, talk in a low voice, gather your group, and have everyone take out their bear spray. You then want to stick it out in front of you, point slightly down, remove this safety cap here, and you want to spray in a Z or S formation to form that cloud. And the idea is that the bear has to travel through the cloud in order to get to you. So I have my feet planted, I am talking a low tone, and I'm going to spray this direction. You also want to have wind in mind. Now you want to keep spraying your bear spray until the bear changes direction. When it does change direction, then you can gather your group and again, do not run, but slowly back up and get safely back to your car or to the trailhead. No matter how small or large your bear encounter is, you should always tell a park ranger as soon as possible. Well, thank you all so much for taking the time to be proactive, to learn the best safety practices and a little more about our wildlife here at Yellowstone. And on behalf of myself, other visitors, and our bears, I just want to thank you for being bear aware to help protect and preserve this environment for future generations. So thank you all very much and have a great day.